Hi there, it's Asia. What can you do to give yourself the best chance of passing your IELTS exam? I once took this exam myself to study for my master's degree in London. Today my score is 8.5, but I still retake the exam every year to update and improve my strategies. And I want to share my knowledge with you in this video. Let's get started. First question is, how much time do you actually need to prepare for your IELTS exam? And is it true that the exam is so difficult that you need to spend months preparing? The answer is no. A lot of people can pass their IELTS exam quite quickly. When I took it for the first time myself, I had about 10 days to prepare full-time, and I achieved 7.5. That was more than enough to study for my master's degree. Indeed, 7.5 is enough for almost everything or anything. And most people need to achieve a score between 6 and 7. I would say that there are two components for success: your English skills and your IELTS skills. So right now, your English skills are at a certain level. And with this level, you can achieve a range of scores in IELTS, let's say between 6 and 7. And your first goal should be to maximize the score you can achieve right now without improving your English skills, and see if that's enough to pass your exam. That's because you can develop your IELTS skills quite quickly, and you will perform at your best and you will get your highest score. But sometimes you can do all that, you acquire IELTS skills, but you still can't get the score you need. And that means that your fundamental English skills are not at the right level yet. And in this case, doing more short-term preparation, for example, doing more practice tests or retaking your exam, is not going to help. You need long-term strategies. So in this video, we're going to talk about each section of the test and what short-term and long-term strategies you can use to prepare. What I want to say is start your preparation early. Even if you have a few months ahead of you, it's much better to take your exam quite soon and then have your certificate ready for whenever you need it. You know, in the past, I used to work as an education consultant, and I helped international students to get admissions in UK universities. And every year I had clients who failed to start their studies because they couldn't pass their IELTS exam. And those were people who didn't have poor English skills. They actually could speak English pretty well. And perhaps for that reason, they thought that they can leave this exam until the last moment. And then something happened and they didn't have time to correct it. And you can imagine how stressful that was for them. So start your preparation early, acquire your IELTS skills. When you're ready, take the exam. It may happen that you don't get the score you need, but then you will have time to work on the skills you need and retake your exam in several months. And in this case, you will give yourself the best chance for passing the exam. And this whole experience will just be so much less stressful for you. I actually have a little announcement. We are launching a new Telegram channel about IELTS preparation. It's called Fast Track IELTS, but the link is IELTS Fast Track because someone's taken my name and doesn't even post anything, but I still can't get it. So there I'll be sharing more resources for your preparation, quizzes, PDF guides, tips, and so on. So please join us. If you go there right now, you can take a quiz to check if you know enough about IELTS writing, the most challenging part of this exam. Search for #1 to go straight to this quiz. My next advice may be a bit unexpected. Begin with IELTS writing. I think most people start with IELTS listening and reading. I can understand why, but actually, these two sections require less time to prepare. It's actually proven. Every year, IELTS publishes average results of all test takers in this world. And every year, the lowest results are in IELTS writing. The second lowest are in IELTS speaking. And actually, IELTS listening and reading are higher. And that's one of the reasons why you should start with this section. Why are results in IELTS writing lower? Well, there are two main reasons. The first one is about active and passive skills. So we have passive skills, that's listening and reading. We don't really need to do anything, we just sit there and we understand. That's a passive skill. But when you write or when you speak, you produce something, so that's an active skill. And active skills require more practice. That's quite natural. Also, in IELTS, examiners use a set of very specific criteria to mark your IELTS writing responses. And you need to know what those criteria are, how to meet them, and then you need to practice writing your answers in an order that will fulfill all the requirements. Otherwise, even people with quite advanced English skills may not get a good result. So you can learn all these requirements in documents called IELTS band descriptors. There is one for task 1 and there is one for task 2 and another one for IELTS speaking. And you can see that there are 4 criteria to assess your answers. And actually, there are requirements for each band score. So IELTS examiners check your answer and they look at those requirements when they mark you. So you need to know how to meet them. In IELTS writing, it's extremely important to develop an understanding of what a high-scoring answer looks like. Let me show you an example. Right now, you will see a topic and 2 versions of the same body paragraph. Read them both and think which one is better and what the problems are with the other one. Please pause the video and then resume it when you are ready. Are you ready? Well, there are no grammatical or lexical mistakes in any of these paragraphs, but the one on your right is much better. That's because in the paragraph on your left, ideas are not developed. Have you noticed that? And the third idea is not actually relevant. You can hear the full explanation in this video, linked in the video description. But I showed you this example to demonstrate that it's really important to understand what type of writing gets a high score in IELTS. And you should prepare. So there are 2 tasks. Task 1 is different for IELTS academic and general training students. Academic students get charts, maps, diagrams, tables, and general training students get a letter. There are several types of tasks for each. Task 2 is almost identical for all students, but again, there are several types of Task 2 essays. You need to know all those types and what you need to do in each so that when you get the task, you can quickly get going. You need to learn how to structure your answers, how to link ideas, what the requirements are and how to fulfill them. Then you have a much better chance to achieve a high score in your writing. You can find all this information to prepare in my IELTS academic and general courses. I will link them in the description. But once you've learned all this, you should practice writing. I know it's such a burden, it's something that we are really unwilling to do, but every time before I take my exam again, I practice writing essays, and every time I have to make myself do that, but I know that the more I write, the better I write, and the progress is actually very noticeable. So keep on practicing. Actually, finishing both tasks in 60 minutes is one of the main challenges of the whole exam, so spend some time on that. So far, we've been talking about short-term strategies, but even if you master all of them, you may still not get the score you need. And that may be because you make too many grammatical and lexical mistakes in your writing, and those drag your score down. That may also be the case if you don't know enough complex words and complex grammatical structures to pull your score high enough. In most cases, that's a combination of both. And I recommend taking lessons with an English teacher. If you can, take individual lessons and ask your teacher to check your writing and to teach you the grammar you need. And don't get obsessed about scoring your essays. If you take your exam, you know what the score is. And there are very few people who can score your essays correctly who are not IELTS examiners. And IELTS examiners are not allowed to score any essays outside of their main job. So ask your teacher how you can improve your English and your writing skills, and rely on official IELTS results for your score. Next, start speaking English. If you learn the language in a classroom, like I did, then you simply don't speak enough. And that's an active skill, so it requires a lot of practice. So you should start speaking to yourself at home. I did it a lot to improve my speaking skills, and it helps, it works. Our brain is built in such a way that if we use a word regularly, we can quickly pull it out of our memory. But if we don't, it takes time. And if it takes time to remember every single word, then speaking is just very difficult. But the more you practice, the smoother you can speak. In IELTS, certain topics are used over and over again. So you should practice answering typical IELTS questions. Don't learn any answers by heart, you'll be penalized. And don't think that you're going to get exactly the same question. Probably it will be worded in a different way. But it's still easier for us to speak about a topic we discussed a few weeks ago than something that is brand new. Then you should practice answering questions in exam conditions. IELTS speaking is quite a time-pressured exam. You have not much time, just several minutes in each section and quite a lot of questions. So your examiner will be asking you questions one after another, and you need to quickly provide answers because you don't really have much time to think, and they may interrupt you and so on. So you need to be prepared for that. So practice with the timer at home to know how much you can say. If you have a friend, ask a friend to be your examiner, and that helps. If you're prepared, you'll be able to cope with this pressure better. Find out what IELTS examiners expect from you, what the requirements are. And when you practice at home, think if your answers actually fulfill those requirements. But during your exam, please don't think about any requirements. Only concentrate on the question and your answer, and don't think about any complex verb tenses or any grammatical structures you need to use. No, speak naturally. That will help you achieve a higher score. And the last skill I think you should practice is your ability to give an extended answer to each question. Because if you hear a question and you just say, "Oh, I don't really know," the answer is so simple that there is nothing to assess there. Even if you don't know the answer, you should still be able to give an open answer explaining why. For example, I really don't know if employees should be required to wear suits at work in the office. The thing is, I'm still a student and I haven't worked anywhere apart from our student library. So the answer is still I don't know, but there is more vocabulary and grammar to assess. Okay, now let's talk about IELTS listening and reading. I'm going to talk about IELTS reading and listening together because I think preparation for both is pretty similar. As in other sections of the IELTS exam, the result depends not only on your English skills, but also on your preparation. In both sections, you're not given enough time to slowly find all the answers. So the question is not just how many answers you could theoretically find, but how many you can find within the time allotted. That means that you really need to learn how to use the time to the maximum. First of all, you should learn the exam format. How many questions you're going to have, how many sections, how those sections are organized, how much time you have in each section, all those little details. Nothing should surprise you during your exam. Then you should learn the strategy for the most difficult types of tasks. When you see a task, you should know straight away how you're gonna solve it. That will save you from spending time on figuring out what you're actually supposed to do. And that saves a lot of time. Next, learn how to manage your time. You need to feel how much time you have and how quickly you need to go through the questions to finish everything before the time runs out. Next, you should take some official practice tests. And here, the emphasis on official practice tests. Only those tests are exactly like the real tests with the same level of difficulty, with the same types of tasks. I took a number of unofficial tests and they are all different. Some are easier, some are more complex, some are just different. So concentrate on official papers. And you can get links to all the free official practice tests in my IELTS study plan. It has links to all the essential resources for your preparation too, and will help you to get started. And these are all the short-term strategies you need to prepare yourself for these two sections. And then you take a practice test, you time yourself, you count how many questions you answer correctly, and you know what score you're gonna get. What if the score is lower than the one you're required to achieve? In this case, repeating and taking more practice tests is not going to help. That's time to switch to long-term strategies. So for IELTS listening, that's listening. In this section, you need to listen and read and write almost at the same time. You need to switch very quickly. And the less effort you need to pay to your listening, the more questions you'll be able to answer correctly. Basically, you need to understand what you hear quite easily. Luckily, IELTS listening is the ultimate passive skill. If you just watch TV in English, you listen to a book in English, you listen to your news in English, and your skills are improving without you doing too much. So try to listen to as much English speech as you can. What about IELTS reading? Well, here you need two skills: reading fast and knowing words. So for reading fast, you really need to practice reading. I suggest reading articles in English. The Guardian and the BBC are two great sources which are free. If you're preparing for the academic exam, then read articles on BBC Science or the Science magazine. Those are pretty similar to the real articles. And yes, IELTS reading is the most demanding section in terms of how many words you need to know, because ultimately, if you don't know the key words, you won't be able to find the correct answer, and there is no way around it. So you need to work on your vocabulary. The next tip is choose the correct type of the IELTS exam. There is a paper-based exam and a computer-based exam. and you need to find which one is right for you. I personally find that IELTS computer-based is more convenient in many regards. And it actually leaves you a little bit more time because you don't need to transfer your answers, you don't need to write anything, but at the same time, you need to be able to use the computer confidently. And perhaps most importantly, you need to type quickly. If you can type more quickly than you can write with the pencil, then perhaps it's a great option for you. But if you really need to look for each letter on the keyboard, then you have to stick with a paper-based exam. I have a detailed video with all the differences in each section. I will link it if you'd like to see it. And another piece of advice is, if you're planning to take your IELTS exam in late spring or in summer, then book your exam early. That's because at this time of the year, the demand is so high that quite often there are just no tests available for weeks, not even in other cities, sometimes not even in neighboring countries. So think about it and just book yourself a date in advance. Okay, these are all my tips for today and I hope they were helpful. If you go to the Telegram channel right now, you can take a quiz and check if you're ready for IELTS writing, and I'll be really happy to see you there. Please join us. The links are in the video description box below. And thank you so much for watching me today. Good luck with your preparation and your exam. Bye!